Everyone has their own story of how they discovered the robotic dynamic duo formerly known as Daft Punk, one of the most influential EDM groups of all time. While the pinnacle of their career was relatively before my time of appreciation and understanding, back when I busted school and had much more time to explore musical genres and videos, I stumbled across Daft Punk and immediately fell in love with their style and motif. It was as if they were a band after my own heart. Funky rhythms, dynamic visuals, anonymity. Their flair became the soundtrack of my life during my later years of middle school. I remember smiling like a goof watching that pyramid mesmerize crowds all over the world. I imagined myself behind those control consoles, turning dials and flipping switches, and being the tech geek that I am, I always wondered what went into making such a display of visual grandiosity. It's just something that seems so otherworldly and impossible about what Daft Punk was doing. It truly gave you a sense that you were witnessing theatrical magic and that the tricks of the trade were secret and will remain that way forever. Today, at least in the EDM scene, nothing less than your A game is expected. Crowds are much smarter and have a greater appreciation for the art forms and technologies that make for a memorable experience. Therefore, we'll see how live performances have adapted, and this is all because of what Daft Punk accomplished during their Alive concert tour. I could give you a long rundown of what tech they used for the show, and I will because it's hella awesome. But that's not necessarily the point of this video. The point is to provide a greater understanding through a variety of sources of what their ultimate vision was. Since the inception of Daft Punk's Pyramid, stages have gone above and beyond expectation and imagination. Millions and millions have been poured into shows like EDC where giant monolithic structures have been erected. But Daft Punk's show was not only ahead of its time because of the technology it harnessed, but it remains at the forefront of people's minds because of its theatrical arrangement. We compare it to a Broadway musical, says Thomas Bangalter of Daft Punk. There's a lot of people involved and every night is a different performance, even though it's the same music in the same show. But it's also like a movie in that you focus on the experience rather than the ego of the performer. I'm no expert, but I do know that progressive elements of a stage show allow for a more entertaining experience. You like to think that everything is executed completely on the fly, and the sound you hear and the lights and the graphics are all random. We like to imagine that's how it works, but Daft Punk approached their sets from an unexpected angle. The show is very structured and precise, Thomas explains, following a strict set list. There is indeed a level of improvisation where we can distort and shuffle the music patterns, samples, and loops in each phase of the show within fixed cue points, but at the same time there's a constant result that we're trying to achieve each night while performing and operating our system. Quite similar in spirit to a Broadway show, for example. If you go see a musical 2 nights in a row, the performances are different yet similar. While Deadmau5 has his cube, Skrillex has his spaceship, and Excision has, well, he has his ungodly monstrosity. It's hard to say if the pyramid has been outdone by said venues, but we know for certain that they all owe their work to the robots who paved the way for their otherworldly visuals. For an experienced lighting designer or anyone like me who has no idea what they're getting into, the pyramid stands the test of time of technological achievement. After doing some digging online, I did find a post from a deleted Reddit user outlining pretty much the entire show setup. Yeah, I know, right? I thought it was too good to be true as well. I also found an archive interview in which they go into great detail about what computers they use and how they communicated with their team of engineers to make this show happen. I'm still working to understand what each element is and how they work together to bring the show to life. Heck, I'm just starting to understand MIDI and DMX. But if you want a rundown of all the tech used to run the pyramid, check out a few of these articles I provided in the description below. These files should be downloaded and preserved because I'm not sure how long the original handler's archives will support the articles. Just looking at the fixtures precisely arranged across the stage, from the 16-foot wide monolithic pyramid crafted from over 1,600 Barco Olight blocks, pixel mapped to display 3D imagery, to the 18 by 18 foot geometric array made up of 170 Versatubes and a 48 by 16 foot LED curtain to frame the duo, and you have yourself a mecca of visual power. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand how the pieces come together. You'd expect a show like Alive to run off of some obscure software and technology that's inaccessible to your average geek, but did you know that Daft Punk's show ran off of an early version of Ableton? While a powerful software in its own right, it has some help from some powerful hardware that may be a bit harder to get your hands on, that being a number of Power Mac G5s to be exact, and a Hog IPC console for the crew to provide complex, intricate visuals in conjunction with MIDI signals, both audio and visual, coming in from the band for the show. Just as you would trigger MIDI samples and sequences with your average MIDI controller, Daft Punk used a MIDI controller as well, and that was the Behringer BCR 2000 and the Jazz Mutant Lemur. These were used to control aspects of audio and visual sequences for the show. As a note for us visual tech heads and designers, video content, which runs for 95% of Daft Punk's show, was stored on and played back via two dual output V4 Catalyst digital media servers. Just think of it as a big storage pool for media that they could draw from during their live performance. This is just a brief mention of the critical components of the show. If you'd like to delve more into its inner workings, I suggest reading the articles I have linked in the description. I left a few surprises that may interest you if you're into behind the scenes type of content. As a little piece of bonus content, here's an image of what it would have looked like to stand behind the consoles of Daft Punk's Pyramid. Yeah, you're welcome. Now your fantasies can play out with a bit more accuracy. Daft Punk's Alive was a technological undertaking the likes of which hadn't been seen before, but for two robots, it was one of the most emotional and theatrical EDM performances of all time. And studying their performance, I hope you can find inspiration like I did to spur on your interest in lighting design or visual graphics. I'd like to thank you all so very much for watching. I'd like to remind you again that all of the articles I base this video on will be available in the description for further analysis. Let me know in the comments where you were when you first saw Daft Punk's Alive. Like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more tech content. Thanks again for watching and Godspeed in return.